Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of our show are also available on Anchor. So if you head over there, you'll get your links for Spotify, Podbean, or wherever you pick up your audio podcasts. Today, we're doing another Legend series. And of course, with the news that's been coming out in the last few weeks, we could pick no other than Sergio Aguero. And of course, if we're going to do Man City and Sergio Aguero, there's only one man who comes on this podcast to bring on to talk Man City and Sergio Aguero. Wayne, how you doing, my man? Welcome back.
How's it going, Niall? How's things?
Brilliant, not a bother. Good to have you on. I love these throwback sort of Legend series where we go back and look at the whole career of a player. It's a nice change up for our Monday mashup show and our other shows as well. So I don't know, like where do we start with this man? As I was saying to you before the show, I've gone down through this man's Man City career, and I mean the man has done it all. He's scored so many important goals. I mean, we've spoke about this on the Drogba and the Gerrard Legend series as well, and for a man to have scored so many important goals, so many hat-tricks, so many awards, and some of them again still, like a man has all these legends are, and especially that hot-blooded South American legends, not without a little bit of controversy either. But however, we love all that stuff as well. Full name Sergio Leonel Aguero de Castillo. There's a mouthful. Shortened to Aguero just to suit the back of the jersey.
Or Kun, as he was when he first arrived, wasn't he? Kun Aguero on his jersey.
Born the 2nd of June 1988, age 32, in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Where do we start? A 3-year career at Independiente, 54 appearances, 23 goals. 2006 to 2011, Atletico Madrid, 175 appearances, 74 goals. So this guy is going up in the numbers all the time, an absolute goal machine. 2011 goes to Manchester City till the current day, still a few months left. 272 appearances, 181 goals. Unbelievable. On the national level is the one that always bewilders me as well. I don't know, with the level of players that Argentina have had between himself and Messi and Higuain and all these players. 97 appearances, 41 goals, but yet they can't seem, to land that success. Yet they have talent all over the pitch. But today we're going to be focusing, because it's a Premier League legend, we're going to be focusing on his career, obviously, at Man City. If you look at his honours, 5, I'm going to say 5 Premier Leagues, because I know when you go out and you look at the stats, it says 4. But as far as I'm concerned, this year is done. So I'm putting 5 Premier Leagues in there.
I've written down 4, hopefully 5. So I'm going to be a bit more glass half empty.
Just get the pen out and put it straight through that hope messing. That hope is done and dusted. 1 FA Cup, 5 League Cups, the kings of the League Cups nearly at this stage, not dissimilar to ourselves at Liverpool. 3 Charity Shields. We mentioned the Charity Shields anyway, because we know the red side of Manchester likes us to count the Charity Shields as well.
Except when we win it.
Yeah, true, absolutely, yeah. So signs for Manchester City, 28th of July 2011, on a 5-year contract for 35 million. 35 million. I mean,
that was 10 years ago. Even that was even players were selling for a lot more than that at the time. And then to get someone like Aguero for that price was City's famous good bit of business. That was a bargain, a literal modern day bargain that man arrived for. And obviously with the impact he's had on the club, 35 million is nothing. Like, that was nothing.
Well, I mean, when you think about the news that came out this week about what Dortmund want for Erling Haaland, and you think 35 million for Sergio Aguero, like, it's mad. So takes the number 16 shirt, and as you said, Kun Aguero goes on the back of the shirt. What was your take back then at the time when he signed? Obviously, came in.
Well, honestly, I at the time, just 10 years ago, I wasn't actually a big fan of the Spanish league. So personally, not that I didn't know, obviously, watching his goals weekends here and there, but he never was a standout player to me until he was we were talking about signing him. And then obviously he arrives and he comes on as a substitute against Swansea. And then he gets a brace, doesn't he? So he comes on, gets the goal, taps it in, first one. The games, we were winning 3-0 at the time. And then he says, I'll just have a punt here, 30 yards, buries it in the back of the net. What do you think that told us? A brace on his debut, man, and scored a 30-yard goal. Oh my God, can't explain how happy I was. I thought, here we go. This is it. And his impact was immediate. Like going on in that season alone, the amount of moments in his first season that you could say you nearly say are iconic. As a City fan anyways, you could nearly say they were, you know?
Yeah, there'll be a trend going down through this episode where we focus a lot on obviously the Manchester derbies and obviously and the matches against Liverpool. Unfortunately for me as a Liverpool fan, but however, talk to me about the Manchester derby. 69 minute scores and the match finishes 6-1 to City.
October 23rd, 2011. He's only with us 5 months at the time, whatever it was. He's only in the door, and I never forget that day. I mean, as a Man City fan, that was worth. How do you describe that of your rivals over the history? Of being the noisy neighbours, and then finally going to Old and putting 6 goals away, and him being a part of it. That's one of his iconic moments in the City shirt. He came on, he played, and he scored as part of the 6-1 destruction of Man United in the Theatre of Dreams. So. Absolute magic. I'll always remember that day. 6-1 day, as all City fans know it as. We celebrate it every year. You'll always see it on Twitter and on the social medias. Yeah. Where were you when we put 6 in United's net?
Apart from everything else he's done in the game, that day alone is legendary status in itself. Yeah. When you think about it, 4th of May, he's named obviously Manchester City Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And his first goal in a 6-1 away win against Norwich also won him the club's Goal of the Season award. Incredible, you know what I mean? So then it would be a disservice to us if we dwell too long on this and didn't go to the final game of the season. And
I don't even know how to talk about this because it is. How do you describe this as well? Like, this is mad. When you tell people about this, you have to see it to believe it. You have to see it to believe it. I remember exactly where I was. I remember exactly the conversations I was having. I remember being 2-1 down. It was about the 87th minute. I was sitting in my pal's house. His granddad was there. They're all Chelsea fans, and I was nearly in tears. But watching it, I turned and I said to him, if Man City scored a goal, I said, we're going to score 2. And he went, you're bleeding mad. And I don't ask me why. But when we scored that equaliser, I had it. I felt it inside me. I was like, we're going to do this. And then obviously Balotelli, Aguero, you'll never see anything like this ever again. Do you know what I mean?
It's unbelievable because I'm a Liverpool fan and it's one of my favourite moments in football as well. You know what I mean? It's just incredible. Because I remember Sky Sports, when they were covering it at the time, they had the split screen on.
Yes.
And obviously United were at Sunderland and Ferguson was going around like this and Rooney was going around like this and they were practically celebrating. And the next thing, word came through. I remember they went to the fans in the Sunderland Stadium and they had like little transistor radios up to their ears and everything and all. They were trying to listen. And word came around that City had just scored in injury time, and they were thinking, oh my God, could this happen? And then I just remember then going to QPR and the ball comes to Balotelli and I'm thinking, he's going to smash this. There's no way he's playing him in. This is Mario Balotelli, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the next thing, he just slides the ball to the outside and Aguero just pumps it into the bottom corner. And I'm just thinking, oh my God. And I always remember Sky Sports went back instead of, they obviously stayed with QPR and of course Aguero was just going mad, just losing, But I remember they went back to Sunderland and the United fans just collapsed.
Ferguson double take, wasn't it? When he's standing there and the double take in the moment he goes, just happened. Like it's just happened.
And I remember they went to the commentators at Sunderland and they went, I think we're hearing word about something like QPR. And I just remember Wayne Rooney, his face just collapsed. And I was just there going, what a great day for football. It was absolutely brilliant. I don't think I'll never see it again.
I don't know about that, but I honestly admit openly, I cried, man, after waiting so long, after watching United's big banner they had for us, and they used to turn the clock every year, 34, 35 years. Well, no more, mate. We finally got our hands on it, and I did. Brought tears to my eyes. I couldn't believe it. Growing up watching Sean Goater and Nicholas Anelka, Steve McManaman and Sylvan Distin playing for us, and then all of a sudden we've got Sergio Aguero and Samir Nasri and Yaya Toure, David Silva. Like, you know, it was we won the football lottery, is what I always say. As a football fan, I won the football lottery. You know,
it was kind of like it was kind of like if you made a movie. I mean, you couldn't write a better script, could you? This guy comes in, sets the league alight, and you know, you know, the man picks up the ball. Mario Balotelli, one of the most, you know, hated players nearly in the game, and he just slides the ball to Aguero. And like, I know when Balotelli came to Liverpool, he used to pass to no one. So I was there going,
that was Mario Balotelli's only ever assist for Man City. There you go. His only ever assist.
Not a bad assist at all when you think about it.
Do you know what? But no, Aguero, like, this is something we'll probably talk about a little bit more. But that goal even highlights, he had this ability, right? I know they talk about Shearer and Henry, and all of them do different things. But Aguero has this ability to know whether to turn, to hit it first time, to take an extra touch, to knock it beyond the defender. You know, he has that, and he from when he gets the ball, from when he picks it up to when he scores, is usually quite quick. You know, he'll do it, he'll move. Like, taking that extra touch from that assist that's genius. That was pure genius. If he shot that first time or didn't try to take the touch, what would have happened? You know, would we've ever got that moment? And that just shows his absolute brilliance in moments like that. You know,
yeah,
absolute amazing.
So then we move on to the 2000. Like, we nearly don't want to even move on from this match. We could just do a legend series on this match alone, couldn't we? We move on to he did an interview, said it was the most important goal of his career, and that he was convinced himself that Mario Balotelli was going to shoot and not spray the ball to him. So he knew Balotelli as much as we knew Balotelli, but I was surprised he got it in the end, because he was probably so shocked that he had played the pass. He probably didn't expect it. But
he was getting pulled down, so who knows? Maybe he just fell over and just knocked it into his pad, you know?
Maybe miskicked it or something. Maybe tried to shoot and pass it, But we move on. 2012, 2013. Obviously, wins the Community Shield. So season starts out okay, but then gets a knee injury in his first league game. And this begins a sort of, I wouldn't say a catalogue of injuries, but a number of niggles and injuries that he starts picking up. You know, goes on a crazy scoring run that season when he comes back off that injury. And then on the 2nd of January, after scoring a penalty in the 73rd minute, Aguero damaged his hamstring in a 3-0 victory over Stoke. So he's back off the knee injury. He's absolutely flying. And then he sustains the hamstring injury. Comes back, and then on the 24th of February, sustains another knee injury in a 2-0 win over Chelsea. It's weird. I was looking at this timeline of his career and stuff like that, and I was always amazed at how quick he recovered from injuries and how quick he came back. Like, he get a hamstring injury. I mean, nowadays when they get a hamstring injury, they're gone for 6 or 8 weeks. And with better medical sports science. But there he was kind of like, you know, you'd miss maybe 3 weeks and then you'd be back on the bench for a game and then you'd be straight back in there. So he always came back pretty quick off his injuries. On the 8th yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was just going to... The thing with his injuries, though, we always used to say, like, were his injuries being managed correctly? Because, you know, you could argue that coming back so quick, did that have that effect, you know, where he was more prone, you know? So
he comes back off that injury that he sustained in the win over Chelsea, and he scores on the 8th of April. He scores a solo goal to give City the win in the Manchester derby in the 78th minute, coming on as a sub, replacing Sammy Nasri. Shout out to Sammy Nasri, another
what a game,
super player, you know.
And again, something I always remembered about was with Aguero scoring that goal in particular. The passion. Watch the highlights. Watch how he goes. He picks the ball up. He's screaming, you know. He can't believe it. And that was something we loved, having a player like that who loved it. He just loved playing football. He loved scoring goals. He loved scoring against big teams. He loved going out and doing it,
Yeah, well, I suppose, after going on kind of a run of injuries as well, it must have been a relief to come back and to be back at that level of your game again and to feel like 100%, you know what I mean? Like, so it was probably a weight off his shoulders as well, because even at that stage in the City game, there was a heavy reliance on him as well. So when he wasn't there, it was tough going for City as well. So he did carry the weight of the team at times.
Yeah, he did.
2013, the FA Cup final, lost 1-0 to Wigan. That must be the biggest shock nearly in the history of the club. I mean, to lose to Wigan, it was such a weird final.
It was a very weird final, but if you remember, that goal came so late in the game as well. The winner, it was like, I think it was 87th, 88th minute. They scored the winner, and I'm not lying. City fans, we always talk amongst ourselves and laugh about how pessimistic we are, like, because City just have this history of stuff. And when we get to the 80th, 85th minute, I remember I was sitting with some City friends of mine in a pub in London, funny, and it was, we knew it was coming. I don't know how to describe it. It was kind of like we were all sitting there, hands in our heads, going, "This is going to go the other way, isn't it?" We haven't done it for a team. We were, and this is something I think you still see in City teams now. But we get nervous or something when someone puts the pressure on us, no matter who they are. If they manage to put the pressure on us for a little while, City start to sweat a little bit and think, "Oh God, it's not going our way."
Yeah, it was just it was a weird one. So then after that, then Real Madrid comes snooping around, very interested in this man, and probably regretting that they didn't sign him in the first place before he went to City, because they had their chance and they passed on it. But he re-signs with City and shows the honour that we like to see in legends when they stick by their clubs and don't just drift off for money or fame, if you like. We get into the 2013-14 season. Scores 5 goals in a match on November the 8th. And between the 5th of October and the 2nd of November, he was awarded the Premier League Player of the Month. And he overtook Thierry Henry as the player with the highest goal per minute ratio in Premier League history. Now, some of these stats that we throw out there, unless you were around at that time and you have knowledge of Thierry Henry as well and stuff like that, it's hard to understand the magnitude of some of these stats and some of these awards. But if go ahead.
I think at the minute it's 100. I think even now with his current, like, he's not scored a lot this season, but he's still the highest. He's still got 108 goals, and it's Henry and Kane who are next on 122 minutes per goal. And I think last season it went up as high as 91 minutes per goal. That's insane. Like, that's proper a goal a game.
Again, then in a 6-3 win over Arsenal, he gets substituted again, comes off with a calf injury and misses 8 matches. And again, we're saying just, slight little niggles, because, I mean, this guy, when he plays, he's 100%. There's no pulling out of anything. There's no half measures with this guy. He's either 100% in the game or he's not, On the 2nd of March 2014, he returns to the City team in the League Cup final, where the team beat Sunderland 3-1. Any memories of that final?
Yeah, and again, another one, pub in London, watching it. Don't ask why, in the middle of London, but it was full of Sunderland fans, and I just But again, a game like that, and this, no disrespect to Sunderland at the time, was quietly confident, if you know what I mean. It wasn't a game, for example, not compared to last night where I nearly had a heart attack, and that was only a quarter final, but I remember that point, and I was quietly confident going in again. Yeah, it's not I shouldn't say that, but it's not one of the bigger memories I have that final.
Goes into a game then against Barcelona in the Champions League and gets a reoccurrence of a hamstring injury.
Again,
it seems to be just as these things occur, they occur at pivotal times as well. He'd be the last man you'd want to be losing in a game against Barcelona.
The thing was, he was so strong. If you even see him now, like, he's quite a stocky lad. So he's got the strength to challenge big fellas and, fellas who are taller than him. So he is prone, and he's not shy of getting stuck in with centre back. I mean, get asked, like I'm sure it was at Rio Ferdinand, who said, geez, he was one of the most difficult players he ever played against in his career because he was always one step ahead. He was not afraid to get stuck in. He was fast. You know, he had a lot to his game, Aguero. And obviously that then expanded, becoming a more complete footballer than a striker, really. But like you said, yeah, he's always getting into that pivotal times. Like you said in the Barcelona game, it was a bit of it was a big knock for us at the time. Like, I remember me heart sinking, you know. Be almost like Liverpool losing Salah, you know, when you see Salah go down. When Ramos injured him, how did that make you feel, you know?
Yeah, absolutely,
think, oh, no, you know?
Yeah. Then on the 3rd of May, he returns against West Ham and obviously secures a second Premier League title in 3 seasons with a 2-0 win.
Yeah.
Again, incredible form that he's shown, and again, an incredible player.
He's consistency as well. That's the thing with Aguero for us, you know. He was just consistent throughout his career, constantly, you know, staying at that high level and staying on the injury point. Like, imagine he wasn't injured. Imagine, I know every player, you've said that about every player, but imagine he had half the injuries he had. What goal output would he be on now? Where would he be sitting in, you know?
Yeah. Or in terms of success in silverware, if you had had injuries at kind of different times within the season, not in those pivotal moments, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
2014 to 2016 is an interesting period for him. 14th of August 2014 signs a new 5-year deal to keep him at the club till 2019. That must have been a great day for you to hear that, was it? That he had re-signed 5 years.
Every time that man signed, put pen to paper, or it was like a lot of times that was all you were waiting to hear. You weren't really interested if we were going to get anyone new or not. You just wanted to know, are we going to keep Sergio? Are we going to keep, you know? It was delighted, especially when he'd done the 5-year contract. That was like, oh, that was so sweet. You know, we thought, here we go. You know, and the famous, if you remember the newspaper article at the time, I'm not leaving City till we win the Champions League. So fingers crossed, he knows what's happening this year.
This year could be one of those moments like that QPR game, couldn't it? That like, I'm not leaving till I win Champions League. Wouldn't it be amazing if he won it? You know,
because of Aguero, like I was listening to the match reaction last night, for example, and one of the lads was saying, you know, I'm not writing us off. Liverpool, it's European. I completely agree with him. Why are you writing Liverpool off in the Champions League? But same, after what Aguero's done for us, do I believe this could be? Yeah, of course I can. Magic has happened. Magic's happened before, and it will happen again. And hopefully, it's us who get to have some of that magic. You know.
I wonder if he scored the winner in the final, would he go, or would you have to give him an extension? Like, could you let him go? Like, you know what I mean? Because it's weird when they've announced that he's heading off. There's been a lot of interest from big clubs in him.
Well, the last 2 days it's been Chelsea, and I'm don't know what it is, but I can honestly see him going to Chelsea and then like winning the league with them. You know, having a 93-20 or 93-20 moment with them. You know, Aguero. I think it's foolish for us to think he's past it in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he is at all. I think maybe our system's changed a little bit. We're not so reliant on a striker, and the other players are more inclined to shoot rather than pass to Aguero, whereas before it was, you know, he was the man. And I think that's kind of what's changed. I know he's announced he's leaving. Man, do you know how depressed I was that day? I didn't want to leave my gaff. I was in there, like sitting in my gaff all day, just like, what? What's wrong with you? Aguero, nobody gets it, you know? He's been there for 10 years, all this. See, it made me emotional thinking about.
That's what you know. I mentioned to Ian today from the podcast, the network I was coming on to do Sergio Aguero Legend Series with you, and he reminded me to remember to mention Chelsea to you, but you brought it up yourself, so you know you're obviously tracking this carefully yourself, you know.
Of course, I bloody am. I'm just sitting there thinking this is what's gonna like. Not in the same, but look at Oliver Giroud, man. Oliver Giroud left Arsenal, he gone to Chelsea. Class, still a quality striker after all these seasons there, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd hope of hopes. He doesn't stay in England. I'd much rather him go to Spain or South America. I could see him going Barcelona maybe. Same as Buddy Messi, playing with him for a while maybe. But I just hope he doesn't go. Someone was talking about a Harry Kane swap almost, not in a swap deal direct, but you know. Kane goes to Cities, and Aguero going to Spurs or something like that. But I think an outsider for him, an outside club to sign Aguero would be Leicester. because they got Champions League football next season. And Kelechi Iheanacho's there. We've done business with Leicester before, so I don't know. Is it something he could do something like that for Champions League football? You know?
Yeah, it'd be mad to see him either playing with Messi up front at Barca or again playing with the likes of Vardy and that. You know, I mean,
Could you imagine? Could you imagine that? Like,
I mean,
that'd be unreal.
You're talking
you
serious
know.
goals. I often say to lads in terms of players that they're at their happiest when the contract stuff is done and it's out of the way and they can just focus on the football. And there was never a truer point than at this period in his career. Comes out on the 18th of October and he scores all 4 of City's goals in a 4-1 home win against Spurs. This is a man who's very happy with the way things have gone contract-wise and everything, you know?
Yeah.
And then just to put the cream on top of the cake, goes out and bangs a hat-trick against Bayern in a 3-2 win. But unfortunately sustains a knee injury. But what a hat-trick against Bayern Munich.
Well, that's the other thing. Like for me, I've that was a point I wanted to this was something I want to talk about, because for City fans that was a very pivotal moment for us. In the terms of, if I'm really honest, like believing in ourselves. You know, have we got the quality against teams like Bayern? Yeah, we've got players who can score hat tricks against them. You know, as a team we can. You know, I know it's 3-2, but even still, Bayern are as big as Liverpool or Real Madrid in European football. And like, you know, we're minnows almost in comparison.
Yeah.
And to get a hat trick, it kind of solidified that we belong here. You know, we're a team that can, you know, hold our own against the big lads. So that was I never forget, like that was the one I won't forget either. Just Aguero, and let's hope he does it again this year.
Yeah. So returns the 21st of February, and 72 seconds into the match, scores a penalty. Scores a penalty against Newcastle.
Yeah.
And it's the fastest since 1994. So again, more records being matched and broken.
But that's if you listen, we go at the end or something. We'll talk about that. We'll go through some of the records he has and stuff. Some of them are mental. Like some of them are proper mental. You know.
Yeah. Well, especially when you see in some of these stats. I mean, his name has been bandied around with Henry and Shearer and, you know, players like that, top quality strikers in that league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
April 12th, scores 2 goals in the Manchester derby, but unfortunately on the losing end on a 4-2 defeat.
Yeah.
But again, 2 quality goals. The second goal in that match took his tally to 100 goals for Man City in all competitions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 100 goals, you know, in such a short period of time. Like.
But that was the thing, like, as well, like from his first season to it was 100 goals, it was 200 goals. It was kind of like, where's the ceiling going to be for this fella? You know, is there a ceiling for this fella? Like, he just scored and scored. And if you notice as well, like, he didn't do a Jamie Vardy and scoring 11 games in a row. He could go, not scoring a game, then scoring the next 2 games. He'd get 2 or 3 goals. Like, he was just so, you know, like Pep Guardiola used, when he arrived, everyone knows how Aguero had to change his game completely because he didn't move. So waited till the ball was past him and then done something with it, you know? His movement was terrible at one point, like off the ball movement, I mean. But yeah, so he's changed his game and he's come a long way, Aguero. And it was, like you said, hitting 100 goals, hitting 200 goals. We didn't know where it stopped from. Like he still is. I still believe he could score 20 goals in the Premier League, you know? Not this year, obviously, but
yeah. It's like as if he played with the freedom of. I reckon if you turned around to him and told him that was his 100th goal for Man City, he probably wouldn't have even realised because he was just so free flowing in the way he played, and like the stats were unbelievable, the goals were unbelievable, and the records and ratios that he broke were unbelievable. But I can't imagine he was that kind of guy that was sitting at home. You know, if I get another one today, I'm going to break 100 goals for Man City. I wouldn't say he even knew. I'd say he just loved going out playing and scoring goals. And someone else probably had to remind him, you know, that second one was actually your 100th goal for Man City.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's probably going, oh, yeah, great. No, let's move on. And in that season, again, obviously picked up the Golden Boot as well, which for a striker is the measure of a player, really, when you think about it.
For me, it just shows you know, it says a lot about the other strikers around at the time, because I think that is his only golden boot he's won, you know. But you'd think with his records and all that he'd have more. Personally, I'd think so, but he finally got it. He finally got it in 14-15, and I think truly deserved as well, if you know what I mean. Truly deserved.
Absolutely. August 2015 switches jersey numbers, goes from the 16 to the number 10. Takes Dzeko's number 10 off him.
Sweet moment, you know, because obviously love Aguero, but we all love Dzeko as well. Our super sub, fantastic. You know, he was brilliant, Dzeko. But yeah, switches jersey number. We were all a bit surprised. Like me, personally, I was surprised. I thought he liked it. I thought he would have kept with 16 after all the success he had in it. I thought it was a brave thing. You know, some players have like the voodoo or you know, like over the numbers and all that, and superstitions and whatnot. So I was a bit like, oh, let's hope this doesn't. And of course, it didn't affect him at all. You know, just kept scoring goals. Didn't change nothing for him. You know.
Yeah, I think it. You know, it's like what I said about the ratios and the goals and all. He probably, you know, it probably didn't mean a hell of a lot, really. You know, you could have put 80 on his back. He was probably more concerned about the name on the top than he was about the number underneath it. You know. So switches that, then heads in, scores 5 goals in a 6-1 comeback win over Newcastle. Now, when you beat a team 6-1, it's not really, okay, you went 1-0 down, but that's just a blip in concentration. That's not actually, I wouldn't call that a comeback win if you roasted 6-1, but that's what it's down as, you know. And in that win, he joined Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, Jermaine Defoe, and Berbatov in scoring as many Premier League goals. It was incredible, like, you know, I mean, like you think about those names there, Andy Cole, Alan Shearer, you know, I mean, Jermaine Defoe and Dimitar Berbatov, you know, these are proper legends in the
absolutely, proper ballers as well, like, you know.
Absolutely. 16th of April 2016, scores a hat-trick in a 3-0 win at Chelsea, ending with a penalty kick. And he became the 3rd visiting player to score a Premier League hat-trick at Stamford Bridge. Only the 3rd Premier League player, which is an incredible stat as well when you think, like, I mean, Chelsea's dominance really came more so in the Abramovich era, if you like, you know, but to think about
Absolutely. And Stamford Bridge, the fortress as well, you know. Chelsea are a famous defensive team, and staying on the point of Chelsea, he scored, how many has he? I think he scored 10, 14 or something against Chelsea. He loves it. He loves scoring against them, and obviously had a hat-trick against them at the Bridge. So
and he only became the 5th player as well to have scored 3 20-goal seasons, 20-plus goal seasons as well. Incredible, like, you know. 3 days later, he scored his 100th Premier League goal in a 1-1 draw with Newcastle. And again, I'm sort of thinking, when being interviewed, he probably had to be reminded that it was his 100th Premier League goal. He probably had no idea. He's just out there scoring for fun, you know. Reached the century in 147 games. Second only to Alan Shearer, who did it in 124. You know, incredible.
Good company to keep, isn't it? That's the level Aguero's at. To say he's still playing, you know. Look, there's not much left to go, but he could score a few more, add a few more onto his tally before the end of the season. Hopefully he does.
And in that season, he finished with 24 goals, only one behind Harry Kane and level with Jamie Vardy. So not only is he breaking records with legends of the game that we grew up on in this league, he's also matching top strikers that are in there at the moment. You know what I mean? I remember that season for Jamie Vardy was unbelievable. You know,
joy to watch he was. Yeah, absolutely.
So where do we go then? Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy. His goals came after 30 appearances, and he recorded the league's best goals to minute ratio. In achieving that, you know what I mean? So that would be a stat, an interesting stat when you talk about strikers, especially now where people are so hung up on statistics when they start talking about strikers, you know, to the point now where if you're a striker and you're off form, everyone starts talking about how many assists you have. Whereas you think back then it was all about, you know, goals to minute ratios and goals. I mean, you'll notice in this series here, we don't even discuss his assists.
Yeah. But like you said, with Aguero, his goals per minute thing is something that comes up quite a lot because it's so phenomenal. Like, and that obviously stems into what we were saying earlier about his injuries, being so injury prone, but still having this goal output, that at this level. And that's why this goals per minute is talked about, because everyone says, oh, this one has more goals or this one has more assists. Well, if you think about it, what he did for the time he was playing was phenomenal, like absolutely phenomenal,
Yeah, incredible. So we move on, but let's look at the 2016 all the way to 2020 period. Again, an interesting period, some ups, some downs, but again, some incredible goals when you look at it. 13th of August 2016, scores his first competitive goal for Man City under Pep Guardiola. And, doesn't seem to matter who manages the club, doesn't seem to matter who comes in, doesn't seem to matter who leaves. This man just is on the score sheet all the time.
Yeah.
Has a bit of an altercation with Winston Reid. If you remember the strike to the throat. And ended up getting a 3-match ban. Which, for me was a bit excessive, really. You know what I mean? It was just a bit too much.
I think that had, or were they not? It was I don't know, with the FA and that, they were big on not reactions and not reacting to situations, no petulance and stuff like that. So they were getting, it was kind of the time, and that was kind of a big thing, and as well. So like you said, it was excessive, but it's probably par for the course at the time.
Yeah, comes on November the 5th, 2016, scores his 150th goal in a 1-1 draw against Middlesbrough. 150 goals.
So of all the opponents Sergio Aguero was faced, the only team not to lose was Middlesbrough. 2 draws we got playing them. Every other team Aguero was faced had lost. I've suffered a loss at his hands. That's how lethal he was, throughout, And weird to say Middlesbrough, because obviously we have another funny game that no one likes to remember with Middlesbrough, if you remember it, a couple of years before Aguero arrived. But that shows how dangerous he was. No team other than the mighty Middlesbrough. Yeah. But everyone has suffered a loss at the hands of Aguero in the Premier League. Everyone he's faced, Well,
you see, maybe what he needs to do is sign a short-term deal or a loan and go down to a championship side and get that win over Middlesbrough and then come back up, maybe, Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? Yeah. He was sent off as well on a 3-1 loss to Chelsea. If you remember the tackle on David Luiz.
Yeah.
Which was and he was given a 4-match suspension for it. It was a bad tackle, all right, but there was a lot of antagonizing through that match without a shadow of a doubt before that kicked off.
And people got to remember, man, the Argentinians and Brazilians are 2 of the biggest rivalries. That's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, rivalry in South American football. So there's obviously a little bit of animosity there. And then, like you said, the whole antagonising throughout the game. Yeah, there's only so much patience a man can have, not justifying you should never be going into hurt the player, but, at the same time, you need to let them know you're there. And Aguero definitely did,
This one now is going to hurt me. This is 9th of September. It comes on and he scores his 2nd goal of the season in a 5-0 win against Liverpool.
Yeah.
What was your memories of that game?
All the Liverpool fans said, "Oh man, they got sent off, blah blah." That's why we lost. Nothing about the absolute attempted murder on Edison that Mane did that day. But look, how do I put it? That was only the 2nd game of the season. But if you remember correctly, Liverpool were on the very, very up and up at the time, and I was not confident going into that game. And to win 5-0 was like, oh my god, we got the leg up, so early in the season. We got the leg up on potentially our biggest rivals at the time. So yeah, that was a big win for us. That was I know it was early, but it was a big win that day.
Yeah, kind of laid down a marker. I remember in that match as well. Up until that point with Mane, we were well in the game.
Of course, yeah, of
course. We were creating as well, and it was just I don't know. I look back at that incident, and I know he got cut open and everything, and there was no doubt and stuff like that. But I don't think Mane is that type of player. I think he genuinely was going for the ball. But
yeah. I don't think it was malicious. Yeah. Geez, I'm making it sound. But no, I don't think it was malicious. I don't think it was. And look, we saw again yesterday. Ederson loves to invite players onto him to do stuff like that, you know. But yeah, like you said, Aguero getting the goal as well. Like, who else? It's always, that's the thing. When if you listen to any commentary, you'll hear words brilliant, magnificent, and who else? Who else but Aguero? You know, there's only one man.
Yeah, ends up in a road accident over in Amsterdam, where he was over. Ended up crashing into a lamppost in a taxi, and I think he was left with a fractured rib and ruled out for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Which was very unfortunate, you know, with chances of that happening, you know what I mean? But
I just remember the rumor mill where it was, he was out drink driving and he was this and he was that, and we didn't know, you know, it was. I know it's only something minor, but with a big player like Aguero, for us, when all these other rumors come into it, you start to think, where's the player's head at? Is he, you know, and all, you know, and then you start having doubts about. Then surely that steeps into the player himself, you know, reading all the press about him. When really, like you said, he was in the back of a taxi and he wasn't even driving. But yeah, 2 weeks out was a big loss to us.
Yeah, 21st of October comes back and scores his 177th goal. In a 3-0 win against Burnley, equaling Eric Brook's record.
Yeah. So Eric Brook, a 78-year record, you know. So that shows you, 78 years shows you the impact of what Eric Brook did anyways. And for Aguero to go out and break that, like, it just shows his quality. Like, he is an absolute legend at the club. He's an absolute, what he's done for City will never be forgotten. You know, like, he's getting a statue, as everyone knows. He's going to have a statue outside there. And I think it's fully and truly deserved. You know, him and a few others brought us a lot of success, and he was pivotal. I know teams win matches and all, but Aguero scored the goals, you know. You could almost argue and say it was Aguero who scored some of our biggest goals, you know.
Yeah, just make sure the guy who's doing the statue is not the same guy who did Ronaldo's.
Oh, Jesus, remember that? Oh my God. poor Ronaldo, man. You know what? For the fella who cares so much about his image and all that, you think, Jesus, you done him dirty there.
Absolutely. It was also City's 11th straight win, equaling another club record.
Yeah.
That win, which was incredible, you know. 20th of January scores a second hat-trick of the season against Newcastle in a 3-1 win. Absolutely love scoring against this Newcastle team, whatever.
He never scored one against Newcastle, mate. It was always love to go there and just bury them into the net and say, yeah, good night.
And the second goal was his 350th career goal in total. 350 goals.
It's insane. The numbers are mad. Like, the numbers are mad. And to think it was over, which it feels like a short period of time, to be honest, but it's actually been 10 years, you know. It's 10 years since he signed this summer, you know. So, but like that, the amount of injuries he's had, like we keep saying, going on about his injuries, I don't think you can talk about Aguero without that coming up. Yeah. But the output is like you say, phenomenal, incredible, absolutely insane.
Yeah. And in doing so, won the Premier League Player of the Month, which was his 5th time winning that. I kind of couldn't believe he'd only won it 5 times.
When I looked at that, I went on two or three different websites. I was like, did he really only win it? Well, yeah, he did. He only won it 3 or 4 times, you know.
Mad,
but that's the thing. Like, I'm not, maybe tell me if I'm wrong, not or if I'm being biased there, but that's just the standards he was at. So, I mean, if he scored 4 goals in a month, people go, he only scored 4 this month. You know, he scored 10 last month or something. You know, because people knew what he was capable of. If he didn't do really, really exceptional, he never really stood out like to the pundits or whatever, because they know he's like you say, he's in the company of Alan Shearer and Henry, absolute goal machines, absolute. So that's all people expected from him.
He also, I suppose, he played in fabulous City sides as well. He was surrounded by really, really great players as well. Yeah. You know, so it's although you'll always shine as a striker when you score these goals as well, when you're surrounded by that kind of company, you know, the Yaya Tourés and the Vincent Kompanies of this world, David Silvas and all, you know, I mean, in order to win a Premier League Player of the Month award, you're in good company, you know what I mean, in order to steal it, you know.
Well, he like you said, he's the last of what I call our first new generation City, you know. So he's the last one, you know, and it's so sad, like, genuinely. And I'm sure I'm not the only City fan who feels like this is absolutely heartbreaking watching the man go. But like you said, he's been. When Real Madrid went out and bought all these players, they're called Galacticos, but when we do it, we're called oil money, and that's all. Like, and you're right, we were teams of superstars, and he was one of them. And even in these superstar teams, he still managed to stand out. In teams with Kevin De Bruyne and, like you said, Torre, David Silva, Vincent Kompany. Aguero was always spoke about. He never faded away from the spotlight. That's the level he was at.
Yeah, I was looking at the clip there from the game with Dortmund, and I seen at the end that Haaland was having a chat with Foden, and I was going, all this talk about Erling Haaland, and like, how good is Phil Foden? I mean, who's really the star in that picture? You know what I mean? And it's just crazy,
To give you I'm not like, I don't know if I should. I won't say it on here yet. I'll say it after. But if Phil Foden didn't even celebrate when he scored the 90th minute winner because he felt I should be, like the commentator said, he should have taken the match ball on. He could have scored 3 or 4, and the man didn't even celebrate. He felt he didn't do good enough, and I went, I love this man. I think he's our new going to be star man, isn't he? You can see it. He's going to be our captain and everything. He's
become such a player. And I believe, even as a rival fan, not spoken about enough, the stuff that guy does is incredible. We'll move on. The League Cup final, 25th of February. If I mentioned David Ospina, would you remember the lob?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What a goal. What a goal. He lobbed the keeper in his own box. It was just incredible.
The up and down, I remember. The thing with, like, this Aguero, he got 128 goals with his rifle, 34 with his left. He scored 18 headers, 27 penalties. He could lob the keeper, like I was saying here. He could turn, he could twist, he could hit it for his time. And like, when I was looking at his highlights, like you said, goals like the Ospina, where we loved Ospina, there's so many. Like, there's so many goals that you think, oh wow. Whether it was turning 2 or 3 times on himself to get away from a defender, just fantastic, man. The quality that he has is unparalleled sometimes,
Yeah, I mean, prior to the show, I was looking at a list of, say, top 20 goals.
Yeah.
And you could select any combination of the 20 to be a top 5. They were 2018-19 season, scores both goals in the Community Shield over Chelsea.
Yep.
Starts off the season good. The first goal was his 200th for the club. 200 goals.
And it's climbing. 200 goals and climbing. That's again, it's just a measure of him, just a measure of the man how to score that many, to be still scoring. And against teams like Chelsea, he's not. He loved, like I said earlier, that he did love a goal against Chelsea, man. He loved a goal against any of the big 6,
Yeah. Then the 11th of November. Sorry, I'm going back here for a minute. Actually, I've jumped ahead there. 4th of November, he scores his 150th goal in a 6-1 win over Southampton. His 150th Premier League goal.
Yeah.
In a 6-1 win over Southampton. And on the 11th of November, he scored the second goal in a 3-1 win against Manchester United again in the derby, making him the joint highest scorer in Manchester derbies in the Premier League era. Level with Wayne Rooney. Now, when people talk about Wayne Rooney, what a goal machine he was, and this man has just drawn level with him. Incredible.
Rooney's one of those rivals that you have no choice but to respect as just an absolute footballer, absolute baller, goal machine, could do it all. Like, there's nothing Wayne Rooney couldn't do at his peak, And he was one of those players like Drogba that you hate playing against. You simply were like, oh, no. But Aguero is in that company. He's in the company of Drogba. He's in the company of Rooney. He's in the company of Henry. Fantastic, absolute insanity. Yeah, absolute insanity. And imagine Wayne Rooney which everyone knows, Wayne Rooney has some fantastic derby goals against Man City. Jesus, he's got some, wonder strikes. So yeah, it was a nice moment. It's a nice moment seeing him up there, and especially matching Rooney's record.
Yeah. So then, the 10th of February, scores his 11th hat-trick in the game that you probably won't forget too soon. A 6-0 win against Chelsea.
I never ever forget that game for loads of reasons, but one, because I was working with two Chelsea fans at the time, and I was working that particular day, and I had to walk around on my phone, and when I ended up getting engaged to a customer, so, and I turned around and I said, what's the score? And he went 4-0, and I went, well, what do you mean it's 4-0? I said, there's been 20 minutes gone, and every time I turned around, he went, there's another goal. He went, there's another goal. And Aguero, if you remember, that game, see, I'll never forget it. I'll probably watch the highlights of that so many times. Was he missed the sitter? He missed the tap in right at the start of the game, and we thought, here we go, this is going to be the game for City all night, and this is going to be it all day. So he's missed the tap in, and then he scored the absolute screamer on his right foot outside the box. He scored two lovely goals in that game, actually, but the one outside the box had to be the one of the day, didn't it? Absolute buried it in the top corner.
Absolutely incredible. And of course, then went on. Ourselves battled with yourselves throughout that league all the way to the last day of the season. And I remember on the last day of the season, you guys were playing Brighton, and Glenn Murray pops up and scores a goal, and Liverpool were top of the league for about 20 minutes or something like that. And I remember you bounced back. I think he scored just before half time. You scored a goal to come back into it, and then after that it was done. I said, once you got one, your tails were up, that was the end of it. But that was a great league battle that year. There's no doubt about it. It was fantastic, and
that was like, look, obviously the most exciting, but it's hard obviously, don't get me wrong, as a Liverpool fan, because it was bittersweet at the end. But even as a City, it wasn't nice right up until that win on the last day. It was a horrible battle. It was, we knew, if you remember, both teams went on an incredible run that year. Like that was one of the most competitive ones. And Aguero again being part of that. This is the thing. He's part of such formative history in City, in regards to like the success years, if you want to call them that, or as the rivals call it, the oil money years. But he's such a pivotal part of it. He will be remembered in the Hall of Fame, if you know what I mean. There'll be, he won't easily be forgotten from the club.
Yeah. So then, obviously, you win the league. I think it was by a point, if I can remember. But it was a great battle. Like, I mean, it was just like tit for tat all through that run in. You know what I mean? It was brilliant, and it showed the mettle as well, because we had sort of stretched a little bit, and then you had a couple of games to play in hand, and then you won those games and stuff like that. But it was an incredible battle. I think, even though I'm a Liverpool fan, I think that season between either of us, there was no real losers, because we showed that we were very serious about our game at that stage, and to be matching you guys, considering when you look back over the years, the gulf, had been huge in terms of the league until we had.
But I mean, people even talk about the banter years at Liverpool. The banter years that Liverpool had. And the thing was, well, with that season, I think if it was any other Premier League season, Liverpool would have won the league with that points tally. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Any other. I mean, when you see some of the leagues that United won with their points totals, and you think about we lost the league with that points total, it's incredible. But again, it's a measure of Man City and the resolve at the club. That they were able to do that.
The same goes for Aguero. Like he's a pivotal player in that. He is the one. Is he the 1 point difference that season? Is his goals? That's the thing. His goals they are the 1 point difference. That's what That's what over the long run made the difference. Players like Aguero, So where does that must lead us up to? We're getting close now.
Yeah, 2019 or 2019 to 20 season. This was kind of the tail end of it, where COVID kicked in. But you started off the season with a great 5-0 away day opening win at West Ham to start the defence. But then we sort of skipped forward. Then there was a lot of indifferent results then throughout that kind of period all the way up to Christmas. And Liverpool sort of were absolutely stalwart in wanting to win the league that season. They did feel that they had just missed out, and they felt that they came back with a vigour that they just went on a win and run, and it was just incredible. As you know, up till the point when things restarted, we were talking invincibles and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
The league was pretty much done,
I think what gap was there, like a 20 or 18 point gap or something, at so early in the season,
Yeah.
But that's a testament again, like again to Liverpool, saying that was the level they needed to operate at. They knew this is the level we operate at, regardless of what everybody else does. If we operate at this level, we can go on and do things.
Yeah. I think if you look at this season and last season, they're kind of mirror images of each other. But I mean, I think Liverpool, in order to raise our game to that level, we have City to thank a lot as well, because it was City who brought that out in us. You know what I mean? That this is the level you have to operate on. You can see it even this season again, where a lot of teams are in transition and they've stalled a lot and stuff like that. And City are just head and shoulders above everyone else again, come back again,
Yeah.
And obviously there's reasons for that as well. So, we'll look forward as Liverpool fans to next season. You guys can obviously relish in your success again. But on the 12th of January, scores his 12th hat-trick in the Premier League against Aston Villa in a 6-1 away victory at Villa Park.
Becomes the record hat-trick scorer in the Premier League, overtaking Shearer, yeah.
And taking his individual tally past Thierry Henry's 175 goal mark as well. So this is again, records falling, ratios falling, everything falling,
Becoming the highest overseas scorer as well. He scored the most goals of any overseas player with that. And again, when you think of the overseas players the Premier League have had, Henry and so on, I know we keep mentioning them, but I don't know it's hard to really put into perspective how good or how important he was, or how iconic he was to the league almost, because in 10 years will people talk about, even rival fans, they will, they'll talk about, oh no, Aguero, I remember him scoring this goal against us, I remember when he done this against us, I remember when, that's what he was, that's the talisman he was for us as well.
Absolutely. 3-1 away win to Bournemouth is where he seals his 399th and 400th goal of his professional career. What a milestone. 400 goals, like, it's just incredible. And of course the season gets delayed because of COVID and everything gets pushed out, and I'm sitting here in the house under lockdown because of the pandemic, sweating about people talking about leagues being null and voided. I've only been waiting 30 years. But as always, the football gets precedent and it goes ahead, and we run out league winners, obviously not invincibles, and get over the line and get the job done after 30 years. And for all you rival fans out there, we won't be putting an asterisk beside it. We won the league and that's it. So then this season that we're in now kicks off, and he's on the sidelines with a meniscus injury. Returns on the 17th of October in a 1-0 victory against Arsenal at the Etihad. Kind of an indifferent season for him this year. I mean, he's kind of been in and out. He's been subbed. He's had injuries. I'm gonna shoot forward to the 13th of March. Just gone. Scores his first Premier League goal since January 2020. I mean,
penalty.
That's incredible, isn't it? When you think about it, like, I mean.
Yeah,
he must have forgotten what a goal looks like, because he'd been scoring so regularly.
I think like again with the injuries, team selection, like you got to remember Pep Guardiola has he doesn't have a lot of patience for hanging around, waiting for someone to either get fit or fit into the system, do I think he's been patient with Aguero? Yeah, he's been patient enough with Aguero, and ultimately he's had to redesign the whole system, a system that he built kind of with Aguero in mind, or that striker in mind. He's now changed that. He's now had to change all of that, even if you notice with Gabriel Jesus, like he's a natural striker, but now he's playing in a false 9 role because he wants to stay in the City system. And again, that shows the gap Aguero made. It's like, right, if Aguero's not going to be here every week, we need to do things differently. We need to do things that don't revolve on his goals, And I think it showed the other day, and it was, for me, this was the nail in the coffin. This was when I knew I was saying goodbye. It was when Benjamin Mendy scored that goal against Leicester the other day. 3 feet away to his right is the Premier League's highest scoring overseas player, and he decided to take the shot on. He did score, Mendy, but that's when I said, "Oh no, this is it, isn't it? This is it." Yeah. How do you not pass that ball to Aguero? Like, how do you not in any, but, and I thought they're not, because they're not thinking about him anymore. They're not looking and they're not seeing him and going, this is where I need to get the ball. They're seeing him and going, right, he's there, you know?
I suppose this season, because of his lack of influence, if you like, as a leader in the team has sort of gone by him a little bit. Like, I'm a Liverpool fan, so I'd be the first one to tell you that playing strikers with the way the game has evolved is overrated anyway, because we haven't played with a striker in years.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I often say to people, we play with 6 midfielders.
No, yeah.
But yeah, so then, of course, the announcement comes then, 29th of March, just gone. He announces that he's going to be leaving the club. Well, how did that feel that day when you heard that?
And honestly, like, I'm not just saying this, like, I didn't want to say anything again. I didn't want to leave my house. Just me dad didn't ring me for 2 days because he knew if he rang me out and like he couldn't, you know, he said, "Oh, I better give him a bit." Swear to God, he wouldn't ring me because he knew it. It's awful, man. It's awful because he's the last one. And if you remember a couple of weeks ago on the show, I said a bit in tongue in cheek. I said, he's only messing us around to get another few quid for his 1 year extension. But like, I said that only a couple of weeks ago, and then when waking up, it was like a stab in the gut, kicking a bollocks. If I'm honest with you, you know, it's like, fuck, he's gone. Aguero's leaving us. The Con Aguero himself, you know. I'd honestly, I know it's you're a fan and you've got emotions and all that attached to all these magic moments he has. I'd do anything to keep him, man. If they said, like, let's ship Gabriel Jesus out and keep Aguero, yeah, no bother. Even though Jesus has been brilliant for us in over the last couple of weeks, you know, but he's shown like great improvement. I'd still keep Aguero. I still think he could score 20 goals next season. There's nothing to say he can't. Like, you know, he's in a team, like I said, man, in a team like Leicester with fast wingers and good midfielders with good passing range, and they can find Aguero all day. Like, of course he's going to score goals, you know? Of course he is.
And I mean, the interesting thing as well, if you look at City this season, even though they've stolen March in terms of going on to win the league, which they will without a shadow of a doubt, some of those results have been tied enough. Some of those games have been tied enough where you have missed his influence and his goals that would put these things home. You know, these kind of 2-1s or 1-0s or 3-2s, or, you know, ones that are tight with only a goal in it or something, and even 1 or 2 games that have been drawn. He could be the difference where he'd go get that winner for you. You know what I mean? So,
even the games like the Leicester game the other day, it was 2-0, so the scoreline doesn't tell you that Leicester were very much in that game, you know, for quite a long time. And it was, and in fairness to the team, it was like they just turned up a gear. They just went, right, we need to get out of second gear here, mate. We're not going to win. And even like you said, that even results like that, like if Aguero was on, you'd think, you'd be more confident in goals, you know. Even if you notice, we get a lot of late goals as well. So sometimes we're scoring quite late, and then again the scoreline doesn't tell. I think I'm not sure if it was West Ham, or I think it was 3-1 or something. But we scored like 2 goals right at the end. Like it was 1-1 or something, like, I'm sure. And yeah, like you said, you do miss Aguero's influence. Like even last night against Dortmund, when they equalised, was saying, bring Aguero on. You know, luckily we have the Stockport Iniesta and Mr. Rippy playing for us, you know, to do the business. But like, first of all, like even my mate who's he's a United fan was watching with me, and he said, why don't you just bring Aguero on now, man, and just get the ball to him and see what he can do? Because you know he's got a goal in him. You know he can score.
Yeah,
you know,
those extra goal or 2 could kill off the tie, really, you know.
I'd like to see him start in the second leg. I'd like to see Aguero start, or at least have a good cameo of half an hour or longer in it. You know, I think he's got a point to prove. Like, I think he's a feisty South American. He's not going to just lie down and walk away. You know, he's going to give the fans. I'd like to think, anyways, from what he's done over the years, he's got it in him. He's got fight in him. You know, he doesn't give up. You know, from all his comebacks from injuries and niggles and knocks and. You know, and like he's had all the personal issues in his life living in Manchester, you know, and he never let any of that come into his game, you know. So up until this last year, you know.
Yeah, I think even looking at this season, when you look at City, it's been more about, you know, if you park the flair that's there. At times there hasn't been a lot of flair in the team with him missing us of that, because he gives you that kind of flair. It's more about the resilience of City as a team to go out and get the job done, as opposed to, you know, kind of a workmanship kind of approach, as opposed to, like, you know, going out, as we've seen going down through his career here, smashing teams 4-5, 6-1 and that type of thing. You know what I mean? There hasn't been a whole lot of those this season. It's been more workman, like, this is what we need to get done. Let's move on. This is what we need to get done. Move on game by game, and, you know, just work it out. Because, I mean, obviously him not being there, you know, the amount of times you would want him is a huge loss. I mean, he is a goal scorer, and as you said, he could still get you 20 goals in the season, even at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I can't imagine how it would feel. I mean, you spoke about it earlier. I can't imagine how it would feel if he does go to another Premier League club. Like, I can't imagine Sergio Aguero in a Chelsea jersey or a Spurs jersey. How that would feel for a City fan. You know, I mean, we went through the course with Gerrard, and he went off to the MLS. But I think, like, if he had to put on another Premiership jersey, I think it would have been tough on me as a Liverpool fan. I'm sure you feel the same.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, like I was saying, I was listening to United mate last night. He was winding me up all day, going, you know, United are going to sign him. He's going to do a Tevez, mate. He's going to do a Tevez, but he's going to go back to United. Like I was telling them, if something like that happened, honestly, the man, like this whole episode, I tell you to take it off YouTube and let's never talk about him again. But you know, like, look, let's be honest. If it's a London club, it's not too bad. I hope he goes to West Ham. There you go. Go to West Ham. The only probably English team would let him go to, you know. Yeah. But other than that, like, would I like to see him go to Chelsea? No. Spurs? No. You can't. I just can't. What you can't want, or you can't want to happen as a fan, is him to go to another rival and be successful. I want him to be successful and abroad, you know. But on a domestic level, you can't. You just, it tarnishes or something, doesn't it? No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not fair after everything he brought us. How could you tarnish it? But no, it break me heart to see him go to another Premier League team, you know. But it's quite common for overseas players to do that, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of it doesn't seem to carry that level of respect maybe that it should. Whereas, you know, I'd imagine if, like, you're a Phil Foden or something like that, if you're blue, you know, that kind of way.
God, we could do an episode on him. I'm telling you now, Jesus, he's unreal.
Yeah. We'll give him a bit of breathing time before we put him in a Legend series. It's not too far down the road. I have a long list to do with these. It'll be a good few years before I stop doing these Legend series, looking at the list.
They're going brilliant, by the way. They're going brilliant. Yeah. I watch what they're doing. They're going really good.
Appreciate it. Let's get in. Let's talk about his top goals. Give me a selection there. We said we were going to have a look at his top 5, or we were going to do picks of his top 5 goals. But I mean, we could do 25. We could do 55.
Yeah.
What were the ones you looked at?
There's only one that there's obviously one that's number 1, and the other coming out the order. For me, you mentioned his hat trick against Bayern Munich. For me, that was, like I said earlier on the show, or on the podcast. That goal was a big statement for him, for the club, for City. For me as a fan, it meant a lot to me, saying, like I said, we're in the company of giants here, and we're giant killers now. You know, this is where we need to be. We should be confident in these kind of games. His debut, those 2 goals, that was, I remember the excitement, like a kid, you know, a kid, and you get, I don't know, you get 5 or something, you get to go to the shop, but that journey, on your way to the shop, you're so excited you can't decide what you want to get. Your head's going 100. You're thinking he should have scored a 30-yard screamer, and he got a lovely little goal in his first, a little nice tap in the right spot. So that was so. What's the word? Oh, I don't know. It was just the future. That was what it was. The future opened up, you know. Scoring against United in the 6-1 derby. That was, you mentioned that as well. My one, you're not going to like this, but one I actually picked was against Liverpool, why I loved this goal so much was, like I said, about taking the touch. So it was when Reina ran out and pressured him. And if you look at his kind of run, he runs. He's kind of in a box, and he just runs outside the box and pulls Reina out, and then lobbed him, knowing Reina can't use his hands. Whereas if he stayed not even half a yard, but if he stayed that side of the line, Reina could have used his hands to save it, you know. And it was just that, having that much awareness to go, right, pull him outside the box and then try to shoot. You know, how many other players would have tried to take it round Reina or something, you know? I loved that goal. I was like, that is finesse and class, you know.
I actually had that goal on my list as number 3. I'm not that biased. I recognize quality when quality is there. Don't worry about that. It's there. It's on the list.
Well, and then I'm trying to think, and then obviously, I'm trying to think of another one that that just made me scream. The one against, I think we mentioned it was against Chelsea. I remember watching that goal thinking, oh yeah, mate, get him, Sergio Aguero, you know.
25 yarder.
Yeah, absolute screamer, man. And he scored, like I said, he scored 2 that day. Absolute belter of a goal. Funny enough, what he scored, if you met like some of his penalties, like he scored 27 penalties, and some of them were like the ones he managed to get in the net were good, but so many of them were bad. And one that always stood out for me was, and it was maybe it was telling of our luck. Do you remember the one he got against Chelsea where the keeper actually saved it? He just put so much power in it, the ball just bubbled over the keeper's hands, and it went in, and he kind of stood there and went, "There you go," That's, and I've always remembered going, Jesus, the cheeky fuck, And then, obviously, number one, the 93-20, mate, the only goal that you could ever put on the top of this list, and you could arguably say is the best Premier League goal ever. That is arguably the best goal in the Premier League. Not for the quality of the goal as such, just the importance of it, what it did, what it meant to the club, to Man City, our first title, Aguero winning the league for us, he's a new player. Just so much gravity was on that, and United watching Alex Ferguson, that was the thing, that was the trophy for us that year. It was Alex Ferguson's face, that double take he does with his children going 90, and you go, we finally stuck it here, And like the thing was, if we got a few derby wins over the years, United were ultimately laughing at the end of the season. When we were battling for relegation, they were winning trophies, man, and destroying teams in Europe. And then now we finally put ourselves on the map. That was the most magic. I told you, I cried my eyes out, man. I couldn't believe it. Pinching yourself, thinking that just happened.
Well, I already expressed how happy I was, and I'm a Liverpool fan, so I can only imagine what City fans were like,
The only people that don't like that goal are Man United fans, mate. And I even think some of them secretly do. That, and the only players, how could you not? That was, and the commentary, no matter which bit of commentary you listen, mine will always be, Balotelli, where you never see, watch this, you drink it in, wasn't it? Drink it in. You'll never see anything like this again.
Yeah, I much preferred the commentary at the Sunderland game. but that's just me. There's one goal I picked out. I'll jog your memory here. This was the 6-0 win against Watford where he got a hat-trick.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you know the goal I'm going to pick out. The one where he sailed into the box, beat 3 defenders and put it past Gomez.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was an absolute baller of a goal. The one thing I love is to see players run at defenses and go by them. That's why Messi is so special for this kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you go back, if there's one goal you go back and look, apart from the one we all agree is number one without a shadow of a doubt, that goal against Watford that day was it was an incredible piece of football. He just left 3 defenders on their backside. And of course, this is Gomez, who's a keeper. He was a good keeper, top keeper at Watford. You know what I mean?
I just remember that day though, where the conversation before the game was, Watford, they're going to do a wigging over them here. People really, and don't get me wrong, I did as well. I thought Watford, I wasn't going in the game thinking we were going to win 6-0 and Aguero was going to get a hat-trick. Definitely didn't have that mentality going into the game. I was thinking this is a very strong, good performing, good football on Watford side, And then when City went out and, to be honest, absolutely annihilated them, everyone kind of went, that was going to happen. And you think, well, no, players like Aguero, man, being able to beat 3 players and put them on their arse, that was the difference, So
that was the picks I had. I mean, I had obviously the QPR one. I had the Leicester one in the 5-1 rout. It was an incredible goal as well. I obviously had the Liverpool one with Reina.
Yeah.
The Manchester, the 4-1 win, the volley from Kolarov. Remember? He just volleyed it home. What a goal that was. And then I had the Chelsea one, the screamer, and then I had the Watford goal. So they were the 5 or 6 that I picked. 5-6 quality goals.
The other one I love. Now, this is obviously a big bit to do with David Silva. I can't remember who it was against, whether it was West Brom or Bolton or someone like that. It was where David Silva, he does, if you remember, he wins the ball in the middle of the park, and as the player comes to tackle him, he just rolls the ball back, puts it on his other foot, flicks it forward, and Aguero runs like lightning through the middle of the defence, and he's clear the one-on-one, and he's enough time to look up at the goal, look at the ball, and then bury it and send the keeper the wrong way. That was That was one of my favourite, and that was City at their finest, if you know what I mean. That was like a true City goal, and it showed his power, his speed, his finishing. That was class, absolute class goal that was.
Yeah. And of course a shout out to David Silva, who will absolutely feature on one of these Legend series. What a baller he was!
Yeah, absolutely.
Was integral in the success of Sergio Aguero when you think about it. You know.
Yeah.
Any other memories before we finish that you want to mention, or anything you want to say in closing? Because I mean, this is not an episode that I should close. This is an episode and a chapter of this book that you should close.
So, like, how do you close it off? Like, sad. It's a bittersweet ending for us, right? It's a bittersweet ending. The man's got you're thinking it's 10 years at City and how many seasons we qualified for the Champions League. He's got 36 goals, 7 assists, just in the Champions League. For City as well, that doesn't count his goals for his two. I think he's got another goal and assist for Atletico as well. I mean, his record against the Big Six, I don't think we mentioned that at all. You know, 8-11 against United, 7-13 against Liverpool, 8-14 against Chelsea, 11-16 against Spurs. I mean, like, that speaks for itself. I don't think I need to say more about that. Like, scoring goals, that many goals against that many big teams is it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. You know, he scored what you said earlier: 13 hat tricks, 4 twice, 5 once. You know, I couldn't even tell you how many times he's got a brace. I don't know. I just think he's phenomenal, and that was something else. So in his goal output, right, Aguero in Premier League goal output, right, Aguero has done this in 271 appearances, I think.
Yeah.
Rooney 491, Shearer 441, Cole 415.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, that's, you know, he's almost nearly half the time of some of those players scored just as many goals. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes we had a debate the other night on the Monday mashup talking about Carragher putting out his list of top Premier League strikers or whatever it was, you know, and the point that we did make on the show as well, that Shearer, as successful as he was in terms of a striker and stuff like that, you know, he only played in a handful of real good teams, you know, so it does match up that, like, what he achieved was amazing in terms of who he was playing with, you know what I mean? Whereas, of course, you look at Aguero, who's just been generally in phenomenal teams, you know what I mean? You know, if you're a striker at Man City in the last 10 years and you're not putting serious numbers on the board, there must be something wrong with you. Because a lot of it you get handed on a plate nearly, you know, such good players, David Silva, Yaya Toure, all the Fernandinho. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
I think there's proof to the pudding, though. If you look at Gabriel Jesus, like, you could argue he is not the most prolific striker in the league at all by any stretch, you know. He's probably, would he be in the top 10, you could say, if you put, you know, all the strikers in the Premier League? But he does still have one of the highest goals per minute output, goals per minute output, because of the team he's in. You know, when he comes on, the ball is moved, you know. So I do does have a big part to it as well. I think with Sergio Aguero, we found what we were missing almost, you know. That was the piece to like I said, to push us into the Premier League winning caliber with your United, your Liverpools, up there with like the Chelsea's, the Arsenal, even you could almost argue for years to get past those teams and get up there with them. He was what we needed, you know, as well as all the other pieces to deploy. But he was the goal scoring machine that we really needed.
Yeah, you could probably argue at the moment that prime Aguero was kind of the missing piece that Chelsea need at the moment in order to be right back up there. You know what I mean?
That's why I'm breaking it over these rumours, Niall, because what like you said, what Chelsea missing? What can Aguero do? Does he fit? Is he strong? Does he fit Chelsea's style of play? Well, he actually does. Aguero kind of does fit into that Chelsea team. And Thomas Tuchel is a brilliant manager. I think he can bring out the best in Aguero, just like Pep, just like Mancini, Pellegrini, all the managers before. I think that would be the biggest worry for me. But I think the best thing to do to close the episode, just to say thanks to Sergio Aguero for all the memories and thanks for for making me smile and making me cry even at one point in happiness, of course. And just thanks for the memories, and don't go to a rival, please, buddy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can't end it any better than that. So, as always, head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. This has been Legend Series Sergio Aguero from myself and from Wayne. Wayne, thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute ball and a pleasure.
Thanks very much, Niall.
Not a bother, and we shall chat to you again.